For many years, Ringo Starr was unfairly labeled as the lucky Beatle, the drummer who just happened to be there when lightning struck. But within the band, his talent was never in question. John, Paul, and George all knew Ringo had something unique, an instinctive human rhythm that could make even the most complex song feel effortless. And for Ringo himself, there was one track, one perfect performance that made him feel truly proud to be a Beatle. A song he later called his Proudest Beatles moment. That song was Rain. Released in 1966 as the B-side to Paperback Writer, Rain wasn't a chart-topping hit or an album centerpiece. But for musicians, especially drummers, it became legendary. It was on this track that Ringo Starr delivered what many consider his finest drumming performance ever. Even Ringo himself said later in interviews, "I think it's the best playing I ever did. I feel like that's me at my best. That's my proudest moment as a Beatle." What made Rain so special wasn't just technical skill, though there's plenty of that, but how alive his playing felt. The rhythm rolls, the offbeat fills, the way his cymbals seem to shimmer right before the bass hits. It's like the entire song breathes through his kit. Ringo wasn't showing off. He was creating atmosphere. And that's what the Beatles always valued most, emotion through sound. To understand why Ringo was so proud of Rain, you have to understand what was happening in the Beatles' world at the time. It was 1966, the year everything changed. They were tired of touring, tired of screaming crowds, tired of being just another pop band. In the studio, they found freedom. Rain was recorded during the Revolver sessions, when the band was experimenting with sounds that had never existed before. Tape loops, backward vocals, strange microphone placements. John Lennon's voice was slowed down to sound dreamlike. The final mix itself was partially reversed, something no one had dared try before. But the real secret to the song's hypnotic groove? The Beatles slowed down the entire recording after Ringo played his part. Paul McCartney later explained, "We played it fast, then slowed it down. That's why Ringo's drumming sounds so thick and deep. It's one of the greatest drum tracks ever recorded." The result was revolutionary, a sound both heavy and fluid, trippy and grounded. And at its center was Ringo, turning a simple beat into something transcendent. What makes Ringo's performance on Rain so remarkable isn't flash or speed, it's feel. He used subtle tempo shifts, fills that danced between toms and snare, and an almost jazzy looseness that gave the song its rolling motion. Listen closely, and you can hear how his drumming leads the band rather than just supporting it. It's as if the rhythm is pulling John's voice and Paul's bass through a dream. Drummers ever since, from Dave Grohl to Phil Collins, have cited Rain as one of the most influential drum performances in rock history. Grohl once said, "That track is why I started paying attention to drummers. Ringo made it sound like the drums were singing." And he's right. There's something melodic about Ringo's drumming on Rain. It tells a story all its own. Lyrically, Rain was John Lennon's meditation on perception and reality. It's about seeing the world differently, how rain and sunshine are just states of mind. That theme of transformation fit perfectly with the new direction the Beatles were taking, and Ringo's drumming mirrored that philosophy. It felt free, expressive, and completely unbound by convention. He wasn't just keeping time, he was part of the song's spiritual movement. That's why, years later, when asked which Beatles track made him proudest, Ringo didn't hesitate. He said, "Rain. Everything came together on that one. I was in the zone." Even his bandmates took notice. John Lennon once said that Ringo's drumming on Rain was the best drum track ever. Paul McCartney called it ridiculous in the best way, and George Harrison said the song was years ahead of its time. It's easy to forget, but during this era, the Beatles were constantly pushing each other. Paul's bass was becoming more melodic. George's guitar was incorporating Indian influence. John was diving into psychedelia. And Ringo? He was quietly revolutionizing rhythm itself. In Rain, all four members seemed to lock into something spiritual, a musical unity that would define their mid-60s peak. Though it began as a B-side, Rain has grown in stature over the decades. Musicians, critics, and historians now see it as one of the band's most forward-thinking recordings. Ringo's performance, in particular, continues to inspire new generations. Modern drummers study it note for note, trying to decode how he achieved that fluid power without ever losing his trademark groove. But Ringo himself has always kept it humble. He said, "I was just playing how I felt. We were experimenting, having fun. But yeah, I was proud of that one." That's the essence of Ringo. Never boastful, always real. He wasn't trying to impress anyone. He was just being Ringo. And that was more than enough. Rain might not be the Beatles' most famous song, but for Ringo Starr, it captured everything that made the band great: creativity, freedom, and trust. It was proof that every member had their moment of brilliance, their personal triumph within the collective genius of the Beatles. For Ringo, Rain wasn't just a recording. It was a revelation. The moment he proved, not to the critics, but to himself, that he belonged in the greatest band in the world. And decades later, when he called it his Proudest Beatles moment, he wasn't exaggerating. He was simply acknowledging the truth, that in the rhythm of Rain, you can hear the heart of the Beatles beating in perfect time.